For the last 8 or so months, I've become accustomed to receiving what I can only label as modern day hate mail, right? DMs, comments, things of that nature, mostly from Black liberals or Black Democrats. It's the only way that I can really quantify this specific group of people. And the sort of messages that I get is oftentimes that I am a bootlicker, that I am a sellout, an Uncle Tom, agent of white supremacy, that sort of thing. But since Charlie's assassination and the fact that I've been outspoken about my support of the man Charlie and what he actually stood for, not the lies and the garbage slander, but the actual true man himself, I've been receiving a different sort of vitriol from this same group of individuals. And, for the last 2 or 3 days, I have been kind of wrestling with this idea of how is it that so many Black Americans consider themselves to be Christian, right? They consider themselves to be people of God. Yet when you look at the way in which they're moving through life, how they're actually acting, and I do mean a majority, let's not get that twisted, right? This is not some little subculture. This has become the mainstream, quote unquote, Black culture. How is it that these very same people who are essentially willing to defend a man's assassination, an innocent man's assassination, these very same people, how can they view themselves as some moral superior to an individual like myself who believes that nobody should have their life taken because of their belief, even if their belief is in direct opposition to my own? How can they call themselves Christians? And so I basically came to this conclusion that Black culture, or modern day American Black culture, is not only not compatible to Western civilization or any actual civilization, right? Let's just get that out of the way. Anything civilized cannot be in congruence with modern American Black culture, but it sure as heaven cannot be congruent with Christianity. I don't know what book they're reading out of, but I don't see twerking. I don't see the use of narcotics. I don't see the foulness in language, the foulness in demeanor. I don't see the perversion and how I don't see promiscuity being pushed and made okay. I don't see any of these things. I don't see babies having their lives taken in the womb at a disproportionate rate. I don't see any of that as biblical principle. And, I already had this idea brewing in me for the last couple of days, but tell me why this morning, and this always happens to me. God always got my back on these ones. I was thinking to myself, maybe I will have no video to sort of assist in this message. But sure enough, I come across this today. So, I'm going to go ahead and run this video through, and we will reconvene on the other side. All right.
Let's say that somebody was coming into our church and they're Black, and would they be eligible for membership in our church? Yes, they of course they would. They'd be eligible for membership in our church. But would they be permitted to participate in, embody, and practice what I would call Black culture generally in our church? The answer is absolutely not. Why? Because the characteristics that mark Black culture as a generalization, in the same way Paul's talking about Cretans on Crete, they are evil, murderous, violent, bestial people. They steal, they kill, they destroy. They are sinful to the core. They have besetting sins that are like fatherlessness, sexual immorality. They molest children at a high rate. All of any criminal statistic that you could look at, almost pretty much without exception, they excel at them. Black culture.
And it's even interesting. I mentioned it before, but
these folks thought Charlie was a racist. And he didn't break it down in the way this dude is right here. Because there's some folks who are watching this and you feel triggered. You are offended. But please, I beg of you to prove him wrong. This is coming from a Black man who wishes this was not true because it's always been a bad look for folks who just want to live their lives in peace, who do not want to be grouped in with the specific demographic of people that have become so ungodly. And I love you enough to tell you the truth. And this comes from somebody who came from addiction, running around in the streets, selling dope, being on the dope. And I know this for a fact. If somebody is egging you on in your dysfunctional behavior, they do not love you. They do not care for you. They would rather see you dead. Otherwise, they would tell you the truth to your face. Let us continue.
Like the black guy on TikTok, he was saying, he's like, y'all crazy. Like, you're talking about this person like it's mental health. He said, that ain't no mental health. That's a demon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a lot of people are seeing that. Like this behavior is demonic. To walk up to a white girl,
but yeah,
and to cut her throat because she's white, and be like, yeah, we got that white girl.
We got that white girl. And when you think about it, you look at that culture and you say, what are the besetting sins and characteristics of it? And then you say, could somebody come in a lawful church membership embodying that culture? No, they have to self-consciously repudiate that culture.
Tell me how you really feel. Now, I've never seen those two gentlemen right there a day in my life. But one thing I can say for sure is that on that very specific segment they're 100% right. They told the whole entire truth. This is a dark, demonic spirit. And any honest black leader, pastor, preacher, deacon will tell you the very same. They will tell you that what this culture has degenerated into, I'm not talking about your great grandmommy and grandpappy. I'm not talking about any of them folks. I'm talking about where we are today. I'm talking about the culture of the NBA young boys, the culture of the Futures, the culture of the Lottos and the Ice Spices of the world. That's what I'm talking about. The cultures of the Tupacs and Biggies and the Diddies and the Diddlers. That's the culture I'm talking about. That's the mainstream culture that has been made okay. The culture where your auntie is dressed up like she is a streetwalker and she is supposed to be the adult in the room with the tightest clothes possible, with the gut as big as the butt. Twerking at children's birthday parties. Cursing, using drugs around the kids, instilling these sort of behaviors into the children without any sort of discretion at all. This right here is utterly demonic. It is vile. Now, some will say, well, this is just the culture. And to that I say, if that is just the culture, then it's all degenerate. It all can go to hell, literally. All of it, and it likely will. There's no salvaging the okaying of violence. And yes, the culture permits violence. So we could say, yeah, look at Hollywood. And I'll say, absolutely, that's vile. That's dark, that's twisted, that's demonic. Absolutely. Most of all that comes out of that machine is nothing more than demonic activities disguised in a multitude of ways, right? And creative storylines, and barely creative at that. But let's focus in here, because the biggest problem has been in the black community that there has not been a willingness to look at oneself, the inability to take personal accountability, and pride has been the fall and the destruction of black folks throughout the country, and it is spread throughout the world because people mimic this culture. Instead of going, you know what, we have an issue. We have a problem in the house. We need to fix this. No, it becomes the white man is the problem. The white man did this. This person did that. If it wasn't for these people, I'd do that. The CIA did this. This did that to me, and the president, and all of that sort of nonsense. And not one second, not one fractal of a moment is taken to just inspect one's own personal behavior. Maybe, just maybe, what I am doing is the reason why I'm getting the results I'm getting. Maybe the fact that I am not prioritizing Marriage is the reason why I don't have a husband in the home, don't have a wife in my life. Instead, I have a baby mama or a baby daddy. Yeah, we're going there because I got time today. I really do. I got time. So we call evil good and call good evil, right? The specific case that these guys were talking about is the one of Irina, who was slaughtered on a train by a man who indeed took her life because she was white, or at least he stated after he did what he did, I got that white girl. Now, it's interesting to me how this very same demonic entity runs in the family because their pops is a lifelong or career criminal. His stepbrother, I think his name is like, not Shirley. What is it? You know, one of them girl names, and sometimes a boy has, like Charlie with a boy and a girl. What is that name? Something Dejon Brown, right? This guy's stepbrother is in prison for taking the life of a 65-year-old white man. Is there a spirit of hatred or racism and bigotry in that house? Likely so. And yes, there are plenty of white folks, plenty of non-black folks who have the very same temperaments. But guess what? Culturally, it has not been accepted the same way it has for the black quote unquote community. You can be openly racist. You can be openly racist in ways we've never seen. I hope I still have this video. I do have this video, don't I? I do have this video. I didn't think that this was going to get its just day in court, its due date in court. But here we are today. Let me go ahead and bring this up for y'all. Because some folks out there want to say, oh, he just pandering. Well, you ain't showing us nothing. You ain't got no receipts, blah, blah, blah. Okay. This right here is a march from the so-called BLM activists, aka scammers, after Charlie's assassination. Watch this.
Charlie Kirk! Charlie Kirk! Charlie Kirk! Racist bastard! Racist bastard! Piss on your ashes! Piss on your ashes! Spit on your grave! Spit on your grave! I'll never be a slave! 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 I'll never be a slave!
Do you hear this Negro's chant? This is his rap song right now. Piss on his grave. I'll never be a slave. Sir, you are already a slave. You're a slave to your sin. You're a slave to your darkness. You are a slave to Beelzebub, Baal, the prince of darkness. You are a slave already. You are a slave to the Democratic plantation. You are a slave to your pride. You're a slave to your hatred. Let me look you in the eye. You are a slave already. Y'all are slaves already. Now you come to individuals like myself on a daily basis because you can't fathom in your mind that we don't worship the same God that you do. Now you claim to worship the God that we do, but you don't. Do you know what God is worshiped by the racially obsessed? The quote unquote pro-blackity black Wakanda, ashwagandha sort of individuals. You want to know what type of God they worship? They worship the God of racial identity. They worship their very own skin. Now, there's some gods out there, right? There are a multitude of gods if you want to choose one. They're not the real, true, living God, but there are plenty of them out there. Imagine out of all those gods, the one you choose is your skin color. That's the one you worship. And so you see somebody like myself and you're like, wait, why aren't they worshiping our God? And I say, because that ain't my God. Because my God is no respecter of man. He does not care what you look like. There is no Jew, no Gentile. Therefore, there's no black, no white, no red. None of that matters. It's what's in here. It's my obedience. Hello? Medea voice. Hello? Is anybody home? Let's continue with this. Again, I haven't played this the whole way through before because I was saving it for some time. I didn't know when, but here we are today. Because why? We got the time today.
Fuck Charlie Kirk. Fuck Charlie Kirk. Fuck.
I have to cut out the F word, but F Charlie Kirk is what he's saying, right? Who's the racist? A man who said, hey, let's focus less on race. A man who said, if we want to change black people's position in most of the world for them to thrive, as opposed to constantly be in survival mode, maybe we change the culture. The man who told you that, you're saying F him, you want to pee on his grave because he's a white supremacist. Okay.
Charlie Kirk. Racist bastard. Racist bastard. Piss on your ashes. Piss on your ashes. Piss on your ashes. Piss on your ashes. Spit on your grave. Spit on your grave. I'll never be a slave. I'll never be a slave. Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk. Racist bastard.
And I don't know if y'all noticed this, but you got the two black dudes in the front that maybe Hispanic looking. I don't know what that is. Got a couple non-black individuals. It's always that. BLM has always been a mixture of hate-filled, self-worshiping black people and sprinkle a whole lot of white guilt, white liberals specifically. And of course, they then put the rest of the rainbow and all that sort of stuff into the mix, which is how you know that it is all essentially in allegiance. Legion. Sound familiar? If it doesn't, go ahead, look it up for yourself. We are legion. We are many. I'll just leave that there. Black culture is not compatible with the word of God. It is not compatible with Christ, period. You must denounce every aspect of it in order to be aligned with the word of God. There is no love in it. How you going to love your neighbor as you love yourself when you have a hatred of your neighbor because they have white skin or what you deem to be white skin? You ain't even got to really have white skin. You got to be white adjacent. That's what you got to be for these individuals. The culture is demonic. The culture is dark. The culture is degenerate. The culture is vile. The culture is broken. The culture is a waste of life. Actually, it has no life in it if you're to get to the truest essence of life. It is fixated on violence. Do y'all hear the music? I used to make that music from that spirit. And even certain subjects I couldn't even get into. I couldn't bust a gat in any of my songs. You understand me? I couldn't Swiss cheese anybody in my songs, but I still had the drug use and the partying and the promiscuity and running around. I could do that stuff in my music back in the day. But now when I look at it, I say, bro, the tame stuff, the okay stuff is vile and degenerate in and of itself. There's always got to be some level. It's the same way with the Hollywood movies and shows and stuff. There's got to be something in there that's twisted and perverted. Something has to be off about it. You're watching a regular movie, just regular, and all of a sudden they just got to show some cheeks or something like that. Man or woman. Like, what was the point of that? Well, y'all barely had a kissing scene in this movie and you got to show some cheeks. What is that? We out of our minds? Everywhere I have seen a multitude of black folk congregating outside of genuine God-fearing people, God-loving people, I have seen twerkulations. I have seen barely dressed. I have seen vanity upon vanity. That's what a BBL culture, the ridiculous eyelashes, somebody else's hair, all of that is vanity. Yes, I can criticize this in the grander culture, but I'm focused here because here it's concentrated. And if you can't look at your own, then you're going to be unsalvageable. You're going to have to look your creator in the eye and explain, well, see, God, but you have to understand, God. See, I was standing on business, God. I was standing on my blackness, God. Duh. No, you were standing on some foolishness and some sin. That's what you were standing on, some wickedness. No, I do not know you. Depart from me. You worker of iniquity, you. All of that. Y'all saw him? Look at this guy. Look at this.
I'll never be a slave. 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 Fuck Charlie Kirk. Fuck Charlie Kirk.
Spitting on the grave, peeing on the grave of one of God's anointed. And this man, I guarantee you, at least him or those around him called themselves Christians. The deceit is real, folks. Don't ever get that twisted. So yeah, I'm calling it right now. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not compatible because they're not of that. What is the fruit that you produce? I have not been perfect. When I first started making this content, I never came from a place of hatred and anything of that nature, but my heart is being changed. My heart is being changed. The way in which I view all people is being transformed, and I have greater compassion. I have greater sympathy for folks. I really do. That's why I came back to the subject, truth be told. I was done. I said, no, I'm done with these Negroes, God. And yes, I could say the word Negro. It just means black. Negro. I was done. I was good with my Starbucks. Shout out to everybody who's been buying me a coffee. I do not drink coffee, actually, funny enough, but I've come back to a few teas, etc. I just want to sit back with and just, okay, God, whatever message you have for me. And when he would bring a message, hey, talk to my lost ones, talk to my lost black sheep. I said, God, I don't know. I need, again, I'm okay with receiving all the hate messages and whatever. It is what it is. This comes with the territory, but you can't get through to them folks, God, not them. I don't know. And he said, I told you what I told you. Go tell them the truth again. But they're going to say that I'm doing it because I'm a sellout and I'm a white supremacist. Let them. Look what they're saying about Charlie, a man who dedicated his life to trying to have conversations with them. I didn't even ask you to have the conversation. I just asked you to tell them the truth. Simple. And so here I am. No, that culture can't come in. No, it won't make it. No, your twerkulations are not going to make it in. No. Your rap music is not going to make it in. The baby is not going to make it in. Not in this current state of being, no. Has to be redeemed. It has to be washed. It has to be renewed. And it has to be separate. That's what the word holy means, by the way. It means separated. Not of this. You can't be of this and of that. Can't serve two masters, right? So yeah, you got black folks trying to drag that into the church, and these so-called pastors, these sheep in sheep's clothing. Some of them are wolves, but some of them are just so soft. They're sheep in sheep's clothing. They're just wearing another sheep's clothing. You understand me? They're soft. There's no boldness in them. There's no courage in them. There's no shake them up in them. None of that exists. They just, okay, whatever the culture says. What does the culture want? Look at that. I done got some of my hair. Let me get that out of here. Yeah, it's gone. Yeah, it's gone. Well, if the culture says that it wants me wearing female-like attire, then let me go and wear it. Well, if the culture says it's BLM time, then let me make my sermons about BLM. When did God tell you to make a sermon about BLM? When did God tell you to kneel on behalf of another man? And I'll say this straight up. Charlie's memory should never lead to worship. His martyrdom is not for him to be worshiped. It's for him to direct to the one who is worthy of the worship. Let me just make that plain and clear for y'all, right? So if anybody is bowing to him like they were to George Floyd or something like that. I say, get up off your knees. Do not bow to a man, period. Bow to no man. That's why with me, what I do, I say, look, you love my content, I love you back. You hate my content, I love you back. But do not look at me like I'm somebody who is just so high and mighty. It does not matter how big this platform becomes. I am one of you, period. Actually, you know, might have got myself a $50 watch or whatever it is, right? A little something. Thrift store drip. You understand me? But no, God is a respecter of no man. You be a king, you be a president, whatever it is, you are still a creation of the Most High. Black folk, where is your humility? How have you allowed your pride to become your God? Yeah, this is what has been on my whole entire chest, folks. My whole entire chest. There's no way I can continue to sort of, again, be disobedient, really. Get the message and then be like, well, what's the point? They're not going to listen. It ain't your job. Your job is just to say it. And so, like these guys, again, I don't know these guys. Maybe they have a crazy podcast. Maybe they have, maybe their doctrine is all the way off. I don't know. But what I do know is right there, they told the whole entire truth. This culture can't come through those doors. Not the heavenly ones. That culture is not going to, no, it's not going to make it. No. Oh, but you know, we made jazz and we had this. Go back and see what that jazz lifestyle was about. Go back and observe what were they doing in those byways and highways, those back way, down ways, up ways. What were they doing in them speakeasies? What were they doing on the chitlin circuit? What sort of entities were being worshipped? Even Bobby Johnson, one of the earliest innovators in country music, or I guess some would say the blues in essence. That man said he sold his soul. He was at the crossroad and he met the devil and he sold his soul. That's what he said. I'm just quoting the man. So you want to go back to those times, all those no, the better times are when you had a real living God in your household and you had the fruit that came from that. You had intact families. Your mother would never think to rid of a child of God in the womb. Not even a thought would pass. Now, I got a comment of a woman who said her friend has had 8 different unalivings of her unborn. 8. I can't even fit it on one hand. 8 in her life. This used to be a people who would see that as a grievous sin against God, a holy God. His child, his creation, you would do what? Now it's not even a second thought. So no, that culture is not going to make it. And that's why I always have spoken against the culture, never against the person necessarily. Though they may be promoting and endorsing, I'm going to call them out because we're called to do that. I'm going to call them out. But no. I understand that you are possessed by this. You are taken over by this as much as anybody else. The culture needs to go. That needs to be fixed. And when these babies are being born into a culture like that, the ones that are getting the opportunity to even be born, I can't go for that. And neither should we. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there. Or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I've been up for hours, I've been up for days, staring at the ceiling, I've been counting strays, I've been in my feelings, I've been out of mind, I've been getting visions of the other kind, I've been up for weeks, I'm in the count of blessings over count of sheep, I can never be the type to limit when it comes to me, I used to be the pleaser for the people I ain't even need.